March 4, 2019, Indianapolis, Indiana, USA. Louisiana State defensive back Greedy Williams, DB 34, goes through workout drills during the 2019 NFL Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium. Mandatory credit, Brian Spurlock. USA Today Sports. Brian Spurlock, bent thejetsblog.com. Follow on Twitter. Over the next month or so, we're going to be reviewing some of the top draft prospects at each position to assess some potential candidates that the Jets will show interest in. We continue today with a look at the 2019 cornerback class. Jets needs cornerbacks. The Jets have some decisions to make at the cornerback position this offseason, with two of their main contributors, Morris Claiborne and Buster Skrine, who are both out of contract. Tremaine Johnson will be back, but the Jets could be on the lookout for a starter and a nickelback if Claiborne and Skrine aren't resigned. The Jets will be hoping for a bounce-back year from Johnson, although he led the team with 4 interceptions in 2018. Youngsters Derek Jones, Rashard Robinson and Perry Nickerson are also still under contract, but it would be a surprise if any of them wins a starting role in 2019 after they didn't contribute much last season. Robinson earned a contract escalator due to playing time accrued while still with the 49ers, which could make him a cap casualty. But the Jets will hope Jones and Nickerson still have untapped potential and could challenge for a role. The Jets also signed Devon Campbell and Arthur Mullett to futures deals at the end of last season. Campbell is probably a long-term project at best, but Mullett has some NFL experience, and could get in the mix for a nickelback role. 2019 draft, cornerbacks. Greedy Williams is regarded by many experts as the top cornerback in this year's draft. Williams, who intercepted 6 passes in 2017, is a former teammate of Jamal Adams at LSU. He solidified his status as a possible top 10 pick by running a 4.37 in the 40-yard dash at the Combine on Monday. While Williams likely wouldn't be an option with the 3rd pick, he could be on the Jets' radar in a trade-back scenario. Washington's Byron Murphy and Georgia's DeAndre Baker have also both been regarded as possible first-round picks, although neither performed particularly well at the Combine. Despite having a less-than-ideal wingspan, Murphy has outstanding film, while Baker's coverage numbers were some of the best in the nation. Possible Day 2 picks include Clemson's Trayvon Mullen, Temple's Rock Ya-Sin, Amani Oruwariye from Penn State and Notre Dame's Julian Love. Mullen is an aggressive player and an exceptional tackler, while Oruwariye is active in run support, and Love posted excellent agility numbers at the Combine. Could one of these players fall to the Jets in the 3rd round? While there aren't many top prospects in this year's class that played in the slot, Iowa's Amani Hooker has plenty of experience there. He could be a target if the Jets need depth at the nickelback position. Also turning heads at the scouting combine were Auburn's Jamel Dean, who ran the fastest 40-yard dash of any player this year at 4.30, and David Long from Michigan, who posted the top time in the short shuttle, 3.97 seconds, and the 3-cone drill, 6.45. Long lacks size, but had excellent coverage numbers in 2018. Like Nickerson, he didn't play much in the slot in college, but agility numbers like those may convince teams he is capable of making the transition into that role at the NFL level. Blesson Austin from Rutgers and Isaiah Johnson from Houston also boosted their stock by posting outstanding numbers across the board at the Combine. Johnson also has terrific size and length, so he could be a sought-after project off the back of his performance in Indianapolis. In the late rounds, USC's Iman Lewis Marshall could be an option. Lewis Marshall, who at the time was just Iman Marshall, was a player we previously highlighted as a standout during Senior Bowl week. Finally, 3 potential sleepers who weren't invited to the Combine are Clifton Duck from Appalachian State, Brian Peavy from Iowa State and Akron's Kyron Brown. Each player will draw interest at their respective pro days over the next month or so, and could be a late-round bargain or even an undrafted free agent. Brown, in particular, seems to have flown under the radar despite being a physical corner with a good ball skills. Conclusions. Once again, the Jets' draft strategy at this position will be largely influenced by what they do in free agency. They could try to sign a veteran starter, which would make the position less of a priority. However, it's a strong-looking draft class, so they could find some depth in the later rounds. Related, running backs, tight ends, offensive tackles, interior defensive linemen, linebackers, safeties. December 2, 2018, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown, 84, gestures at the line of scrimmage against the Los Angeles Chargers during the fourth quarter at Heinz Field. The Chargers won 33-30. Mandatory credit. Charles Leclerc. USA Today Sports. Charles Leclerc, disgruntled wide receiver Antonio Brown and the Steelers have agreed it is time to part ways, and Pittsburgh will look to deal the six-time Pro Bowler this offseason. Here are the latest reports and updates on Brown. March 5, 4:42 p.m., the Jets have made contact regarding a potential trade for Brown, reports Ian Rappaport of NFL.com, who says the Raiders have been the team with the most consistent interest in trading for Brown, with the Redskins also maintaining contact. Facts. Full mock draft is in 0 hours 1 minute and 35 seconds. SNY NFL insider Ralph Vacchiano delivers his full mock draft for the Jets and Giants, and reveals who they'll each target in the first round. The Jets have only 6 picks in the upcoming NFL draft, and with so many holes on their roster they'll need to use them wisely. It's very early, but here's a look at how those 10 picks could go. First round, 3rd overall, to Nick Bosa, Ohio State. Could the Jets have a top talent surprisingly drop to them for the 4th time in the last 5 drafts? They will if QB Kyler Murray goes no. 1. As so many expect, it will leave them, at worst, to get either Bosa or Kentucky LB Josh Allen. And that's assuming they don't trade down for a boatload of picks. Ohio State defensive lineman Nick Bosa goes through workout drills during the 2019 NFL Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium. Brian Spurlock, USA Today Sports. The Jets have the no. 3 pick in the draft, but one player they could target is considered co-favorites to go no. 1. Ohio State pass rusher Nick Bosa is tied with Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray with the best odds, 110, to go first overall to the Arizona Cardinals, according to FanDuel Sportsbook. Jets NFL Draft Stock Watch. 0 hours 0 minutes and 49 seconds. SNY draft analyst Tony Pauline discusses a couple of New York Jets draft targets who saw their stock shift at the 2019 NFL Combine. SNY's draft analyst Tony Pauline breaks down which player on the Jets' radar saw his stock rise and which one saw his stock fall following the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis this weekend. The Jets are expected to be all in on pass rushers this offseason, but one potential target appears to be off the board. The Houston Texans placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on OLB Jadeveon Clowney on Monday, the team announced. Clowney, 26, has until July 15 to reach terms on a long-term deal with Houston or play on a 1-year contract worth $15.43 million guaranteed. Mississippi wide receiver DK Metcalf runs the 40-yard dash during the 2019 NFL Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium. Brian Spurlock, USA Today Sports. BentTheJetsBlog.com. Follow on Twitter. Over the next month or so, we're going to be reviewing some of the top draft prospects at each position to assess some potential candidates that the Jets will show interest in. We continue today with a look at the 2019 wide receiver class. Jets needs wide receivers. Having signed Quincy Enunwa to an extension and Robbie Anderson to a restricted free agency tender, the Jets should have their 2 leading receivers from last year back in the fold. However, they don't currently have much beyond those 2. Sharon Peake is still under contract and Andre Roberts could be resigned, but most of their contributions in 2018 were on special teams. VACC talks Jets. 0 hours 1 minute and 10 seconds. SNY's Ralph Vacchiano shares some insights on who the Jets may be targeting in the NFL draft to improve their pass rush. Indianapolis, Mike Maccagnan and Adam Gase set the stage for an aggressive offseason for the Jets when they met the media at the NFL Scouting Combine last week, in part because they have no choice. They have a depleted roster, tons of cap room, a high draft pick, and a willingness to trade. So how will they reshape their roster? They didn't exactly lay out a blueprint. But from their press conferences and plenty of info from NFL sources, here are 10 things we learned about the Jets' plans while they were at the Combine. 1. The Jets aren't trading for Antonio Brown. Bosa talks NFL Draft. 0 hours 1 minute and 22 seconds. Defensive end Nick Bosa discusses the NFL Draft, where he might fit in with the Jets and his pass rushing technique. Defensive end Nick Bosa discusses the NFL Draft, where he might fit in with the Jets and his pass rushing technique. January 22, 2019, Mobile, Alabama, USA. South defensive end Montez Sweat of Mississippi State, 9, battles with South offensive tackle Titus Howard of Alabama State, 58, knocking off his helmet during the South Squad 2019 Senior Bowl practice at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. Mandatory credit, John David Mercer. USA Today Sports. John David Mercer, so fast he hardly broke a sweat. One of the more eye-popping numbers from this weekend's NFL Draft Combine in Indianapolis was the 4.41 mark former Mississippi State Montez Sweat posted in the 40-yard dash Sunday. It's even more impressive when considering Sweat is a defensive lineman who stands at 6'6" and weighs 260 pounds. It's also the new fastest time on record from a defensive lineman, besting Jadeveon Clowney's time of 4.53 in 2014. November 11, 2018, Kansas City, Missouri, USA. Arizona Cardinals wide receiver J.J. Nelson, 14, is tackled by Kansas City Chiefs linebacker D. Ford, 55, in the second half at Arrowhead Stadium. Mandatory credit, Jay Biggerstaff. USA Today Sports. Jay Biggerstaff. The Chiefs will place the franchise tag on linebacker D. Ford and plan to have him for the 2019 season, but according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the team will listen to trade offers as they transition to a 4-3 defense. Ford, who turns 28 this month, was tied for 8th in the NFL last season with 13 sacks, a career high. Kansas City maintains flexibility regarding what to do with Ford by tagging him, rather than letting him walk into free agency for nothing. The Jets are keeping a 3-4 defense under new defensive coordinator Greg Williams and will at least have to consider trading for Ford as they desperately need to add a pass rusher. February 23, 2019, Norman, Oklahoma, USA. Oklahoma Sooners former player Kyler Murray is recognized during a timeout in the game Texas Longhorns at Lloyd Noble Center. Mandatory credit, Rob Ferguson. USA Today Sports. Rob Ferguson, Ralph Vacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive Indianapolis. It would be a great thing for the Jets if there's even the hint of a run on quarterbacks early in the NFL draft, because it would drive up the market for anyone looking to trade for the 3rd overall pick. But you know what might be even better for the Jets? If Oklahoma Kyler Murray goes no. One that could be a dream scenario for the Jets, who might be tempted to sit right where they are. Because if that happens, and multiple NFL people told SNY on Friday that they are convinced the Arizona Cardinals want to draft Murray no. 1. It means Ohio State's Nick Bosa or Kentucky's Josh Allen would fall right into their laps. DK Metcalf may have just sprinted onto the Jets' radar. The Ole Miss wide receiver impressed at the NFL Scouting Combine on Saturday with his 40-yard dash, running a 4.33. What made the time even more impressive, though, is that Metcalf is 6'4" and 230 pounds, rare speed for someone that size. The Jets need wide receiver weapons to surround quarterback Sam Darnold, and whoever is running the team's Twitter account seems to want Metcalf, tweeting out a video of his 40. February 27, 2019, Indianapolis, Indiana, USA. New York Jets head coach Adam Gase speaks to media during the 2019 NFL Combine at Indianapolis Convention Center. Mandatory credit, Trevor Rishkovsky. USA Today Sports. Trevor Rishkovsky, Ralph Vacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive Indianapolis. The conclusion from the Jets last year seemed inescapable. They had found their franchise quarterback, but they really needed to get him some help. That's why this offseason has seemed to be about one thing: finding weapons for Sam Darnold to use. Finding playmakers who can make a difference in the offense. That seemed to be a priority for the Jets in both free agency and the draft. But new coach Adam Gase didn't sound like it was really a priority at all. August 12, 2017, East Rutherford, NJ, USA, New York Jets general manager Mike Maccagnan reacts on the field before a preseason game against the Tennessee Titans at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner USA Today Sports Brad Penner, Ralph Vacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive Indianapolis. Both New York teams made it clear this week that rebuilding their offensive lines is a priority. They each need at least 2 new starters, otherwise their offenses might not be able to run. To get that help, though, they'll either have to look to an underwhelming free agent market or dig deep into the NFL draft. Because even though both teams have top 10 picks in the draft this April, the kind of help they're looking for likely won't be there. A top 10 offensive lineman? I don't know about that, said one AFC scout. If you're looking for the next Quentin Nelson, drafted 6th overall by the Colts last year, he's not there. There are good players in this draft, but not that high. One-on-one with Santonio Holmes, 0 hours 6 minutes and 33 seconds. Former New York Jets wide receiver Santonio Holmes shares why he thinks the Jets should target Antonio Brown to help out Sam Darnold. Count Santonio Holmes among those who believe the Jets should bring in Antonio Brown. With the Steelers looking to trade their disgruntled star receiver and the Jets in need of a bona fide one wideout, Holmes thinks Brown would fit well with Gang Green. Business is boomin', Holmes told SNY's Gene Coakley. You want a great receiver that's gonna give you 15 touchdowns, 1,000 yards every season? He's the guy. Regardless of what people are saying about his attitude and his demeanor, as a wide receiver, you can't do anything without touching the football. September 30, 2018, Jacksonville, Florida, USA, New York. Jets quarterback Sam Darnold, 14, throws a pass under pressure from Jacksonville Jaguars defensive end Dante Fowler, 56, and linebacker Telvin Smith, 50, during the second half at TIAA Bank Field. Mandatory credit, Reinhold Mate USA Today Sports. Reinhold Mate. One thing is clear, the Jets must exit this offseason with a bona fide pass rusher to anchor the defensive line heading into 2019. Gang Green can address the need either through the draft in April or through free agency. And with the NFL Combine in full swing in Indianapolis, players are set to officially hit the open market on March 13 at 4 p.m. Teams can begin talking to soon-to-be free agents 2 days prior. According to ESPN's Rich Cimini, the Jets are not being shy in their interest for a player who can hound the quarterback. The team is apparently centering its search around pass rushers Ezekiel Ansah, Dante Fowler and Preston Smith. December 1, 2018, Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Alabama Crimson Tide defensive lineman Quinnen Williams, 92, reacts after a sack against the Georgia Bulldogs during the first quarter in the SEC championship game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Mandatory credit, Jason Getz USA Today Sports. Jason Getz. Over the next month or so, we're going to be reviewing some of the top draft prospects at each position to assess some potential candidates that the Jets will show interest in. We continue today with a look at the 2019 interior defensive lineman class. Jets needs interior defensive linemen. Over the past few years, the Jets have gone from being stacked with defensive line talent to a situation where they may now be looking to upgrade again. 2016 Pro Bowler Leonard Williams will play the 2019 season on his 5th-year option, but it remains to be seen if Steve McClendon and Henry Anderson will be resigned, with the Jets already having decided not to pick up Mike Pennell's option. Anderson could be a priority after he was tied for the team lead with 7 sacks last season. Nick Mangold, 1-on-1, 0 hours 3 minutes and 39 seconds. Former New York Jets lineman Nick Mangold shares why he was invited to the 2019 NFL Combine as a mentor to the upcoming rookie class. It's been a few years since former Jets center Nick Mangold played his final NFL game, but he's keeping himself involved. Mangold is in Indianapolis to help mentor draft prospects at the NFL Combine as part of the NFL Legends community. The seven-time Pro Bowler is giving advice to offensive linemen. "I'm here as a resource," Mangold told SNY's Gene Coakley. "I'm not affiliated with the league. I'm not affiliated with any team, so if guys have questions that they don't want to ask that they might think is stupid or can cause problems, they ask me. So it's been a good experience." February 28, 2019, Indianapolis, Indiana, USA. Stanford running back Bryce Love, RB14, speaks to media during the 2019 NFL Combine at Indianapolis Convention Center. Mandatory credit, Trevor Rishkovsky. USA Today Sports, Trevor Rishkovsky, Ralph Vacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive. Indianapolis. The workouts at the NFL Scouting Combine are a huge deal, but the interviews with prospects are just as important. Teams are allowed to meet with 60 prospects here for 15-minute formal interviews. They also conduct countless informal interviews, and more than a few chance meetings and short chats, too. Sometimes, those interviews and meetings are a clue as to who the teams are looking at in the upcoming NFL Draft. Sometimes they're nothing more than a smokescreen. Regardless, here's a look at some of the prospects the Jets have met with in some capacity so far at the Combine, based on interviews with those prospects, information from NFL sources, and from a few published reports. October 22, 2017, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. Pittsburgh Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell, 26, greets wide receiver Antonio Brown, 84, after a first-quarter touchdown against the Cincinnati Bengals at Heinz Field. Mandatory credit, Philip G. Pavley. USA Today Sports, Philip G. Pavley, Ralph Vacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive. Indianapolis. There are two prominent Pittsburgh Steelers who are both very available, and who will dominate the conversation in the NFL this offseason. 2 years ago, the dynamic duo combined for 3,479 yards and 20 touchdowns. The Jets, who desperately need impact defensive players, could really use both RB Le'Veon Bell and WR Antonio Brown. Realistically, though, they only have a shot at one. NFL Combine story, Santana Moss 0 hours 0 minutes and 52 seconds. Former New York Jets special teams coach Mike Westhoff shares a story about Santana Moss's explosive and impressive 2001 NFL Combine. 18 years ago, Mike Westhoff was in his first year as the Jets special teams coach, having joined new head coach Herm Edwards' staff after a 15-year run with the Dolphins. The new regime inherited some talented players, but they knew they needed a speedy playmaker. And while scouting players at the Combine, Santana Moss jumped off the charts, according to Westhoff. December 23, 2018, East Rutherford, NJ, USA. New York Jets wide receiver Robbie Anderson, 11, scores a touchdown during the first half against the Green Bay Packers at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Vincent Carcietta. USA Today Sports, Vincent Carcietta. The Jets have issued a second-round tender to WR Robbie Anderson worth $3.1 million, SNY's Ralph Vacchiano confirmed on Thursday. This tender doesn't necessarily mean Anderson is locked in with the Jets for the 2019 season. Teams that are interested in Anderson could issue an offer sheet that the Jets would have the chance to match. If the Jets don't match it, they would receive draft compensation. Speaking back in November, Anderson didn't want to be tendered by the Jets, as he wants to be a part of their long-term plans. August 12, 2017, East Rutherford, NJ, USA. New York Jets general manager Mike Maccagnan reacts on the field before a preseason game against the Tennessee Titans at MetLife Stadium. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports, Brad Penner, Ralph Vacchiano, Facebook, Twitter, Archive. Indianapolis. A year ago, Jets GM Mike Maccagnan knew he had to move up in the draft from No. 6 to number 3 to get in position to draft a franchise quarterback. Now, with quarterback Sam Darnold on board and the No. 3 pick once again in his pocket, he could be in the market to move down. And yes, he would even be willing to trade down to No. 6 talks in an exchange of picks with the Giants. If he gets an offer he can't refuse. One-on-one with Adam Gase, 0 hours 2 minutes and 40 seconds. New York Jets head coach explains what he's been doing leading up to the Combine and trying to building around quarterback Sam Darnold. This week at the NFL Combine, Jets new head coach Adam Gase joins GM Mike Maccagnan and the rest of the Jets officials that have traveled to Indianapolis to see the best in college football give it their all to raise their draft stock. Gase has been through a whirlwind, as he put it, in the transition from Miami to New York. He has checked off a big part of his itinerary in locking down his coaching staff. But with free agency coming up along with evaluating the prospects, there's still lots of work to do. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind just because we're trying to get a lot done in a short amount of time, Gase told SNY's Gene Coakley in an exclusive one-on-one interview. I think it's been good. We finally got the coaching staff together and going through the steps we need to go through, evaluating our roster and really trying to figure out where we're going to go from here. Jets GM on plans for cap space, 0 hours 1 minute and 4 seconds. New York Jets GM Mike Maccagnan discusses his team's major cap space and his plans to be aggressive in free agency this offseason. When the new league year begins on March 13th and free agency officially opens up, the Jets are supposed to be one of the most aggressive teams after some of the top names on the market. And their GM, Mike Maccagnan, confirmed that at the NFL Combine on Wednesday. Maccagnan and his franchise have everything to work with this offseason to lure free agents. Loads of cap space, estimated at about $102 million by OverTheCap.com, a fresh coaching staff that includes head coach Adam Gase and defensive coordinator Greg Williams leading the way, and a young core that touts players like Sam Darnold and Jamal Adams. The Jets haven't been to the playoffs in 3 straight seasons, but that streak could end next season if the Jets land the players they desire on the market. Maccagnan said a plan is in place. Gene Coakley tries bench press, 0 hours 1 minute and 15 seconds while at the 2019 NFL Combine. SNY's Gene Coakley tries her luck at the bench press that is also used by the prospects at the Combine. The NFL Combine is upon us, and some of the best names from college football this season will be giving it their all during the on-field and off-field workouts in Indianapolis this week. One of the traditional workouts off the field is the bench press, which is set to test each prospect's strength. They will have 1 minute to count as many reps of 225 pounds. So SNY's Gene Coakley decided to get under the bar herself to see how many reps she could pump out. Adam Gase talks at NFL Combine, 0 hours 1 minute and 5 seconds. New York Jets head coach Adam Gase talks about the new coaching staff looking to balance their roster out with FA and the upcoming draft. Adam Gase addressed the media for the first time on Wednesday at the NFL Scouting Combine since he was introduced as the Jets' new head coach in January. He has now had some time to evaluate the players he is inheriting and was able to expand on his feelings on how he will utilize them and the potential he sees. Here are the takeaways from his latest press conference, February 27, 2019, Indianapolis, Indiana, USA. New York Jets head coach Adam Gase speaks to media during the 2019 NFL Combine at Indianapolis Convention Center. Mandatory credit, Trevor Rishkovsky. USA Today Sports. Trevor Rishkovsky, Jets head coach Adam Gase confirmed Wednesday at the NFL Combine that the team will indeed be sticking with a 3-4 defense under new defensive coordinator Greg Williams, who has often run a 4-3 defense. That's the beauty part about hiring a guy that's been around for a long time, Gase said. He's done multiple things over his career.